you don't, leaving me no clues. If yes, no, and no, it's just tell me what you want. I'm a man to know what's going on. Yeah. You never get the feelings that I want.
Hey, Ali won the Norfolk for Frankie Dettori. Frankie again.
It's 3 wins out of 3 for Frankie Dettori.
Stradivarius, back-to-back Gold Cups, 4 in a row for Dettori.
You never get the feelings that I want.
Kia ora everyone, with Kamara Park, a warm welcome to the first call here for this Friday. Fantastic to have you with us. I hope you've been enjoying the coverage alongside of Ascot with the Cricket World Cup. There's plenty happening across our Sky channels over the last week. Jason Tan and Ada Brodley are back on board with us this week with Kamara Park. Ascot's been great, hasn't it?
It's one of those situations, Matthew, hi to you, Aidan and everyone, that, you know, the NFL players, how they have those black things to stop the reflection. If I was to go like that and take off the makeup, then would be some pretty dork sort of lines underneath my eyes, but it's been fantastic. And to watch Frankie Dettori ride the first 4 yesterday on day 3 of Royal Ascot was special, including his 7th Ascot Gold Cup and the 2nd in a row for Stradivarius. A couple more days to go, and it all opened, Aidan Rodley, with New Zealand representation in the King's Stand Stakes.
Yeah, sure did. And Enzo's lad, while sort of not figuring, he hasn't disgraced himself by any means. And I think overall the pitman's pretty happy with him. I spoke with Matthew earlier on the week, and they're likely to bypass the race that they had a nomination for on the last day. I think that's tomorrow, isn't it?
Yeah, the Diamond Jubilee over the 1,200 metres. Blue Point, who won the King's Stand, has accepted for that, but obviously they haven't with Enzo's. They're going to stay there though.
Yeah, they're going to head over to Newmarket. I think that's where the horse is basically stabled anyhow, and look for the July Cup over the 1,200 metres. I think it's around about the 13th of July, and by all accounts he's come through the race really well. And yeah, but hasn't the coverage been outstanding? And Dettori, he's just so flamboyant, and he's got that great reputation as being a showman, and he's got something to show off this week too.
It's been super what we've been able to get back, and obviously Michael Pittman and the owners of Enzo's Lad have really enjoyed the hospitality, and for many it will be a once in a lifetime. For many, they never get an opportunity to have a horse at a meeting like that in their lifetime. But Frankie Dettori was crowned Longines World's best jockey in Hong Kong last year, and he's been riding at the top of his game for 2 or 3, maybe 4 years now after having a flat period. And of course, I think it was in '96 he rode the card at Ascot, 7 winners from 7 races, the Magnificent Seven. It's been a long time since then, but there were sort of hints that he might do that when he shot clear in race number 5, but got run down, and then he wasn't able to feature in the last. But he's one amazing character, Frankie.
Yeah.
Great to see James McDonald back over there as well, just heading to the Kiwi contingency, isn't it? And
a real thrill for him, riding for Her Majesty the Queen, and loomed to be a chance. Raced, I think, finished 4th, but loomed to finish right in contention, but maybe just came to the end of the run and wasn't able to fill the top 3. But no doubt a thrill for James, having done it last year as well, and just shows the esteem that he is held in.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's obviously had a very rough period of being disqualified, and he's done his time for that. He's come back, he's now secured the Sydney Premiership, and he's in demand everywhere in the world, from Hong Kong to the Queen of England.
And you've got some news as well around the Rita board.
Yeah, so we've had a press release come through from Winston Peters this morning, and they have announced the new Rita board, which takes over on the 1st of July, with the current New Zealand Racing Board to stand down there. So the makeup of that is Dean McKenzie, who will chair the new Rita board, Bill Burney, Liz Dawson, Christy McDonald, Anna Stove, and Sir Peter Vella. So that's been announced this morning, and obviously there's been a fair bit of talk about it, of course, with the new bill going through Parliament, with people sort of speaking to that as well. So obviously there's change happening here in our industry, and this is the latest on that as well.
So 5 of the 6 were a part of the Ministerial Advisory Committee, or MAC, and Anna Stove has been added to make it 6 for Rita itself. So look, it's been a very fast-moving process, and Winston Peters, to his credit, has said all along that it would be. And I say fast because relative to how legislation gets pushed through Parliament and also the speed at which the racing industry itself has operated the last 3 decades, it's lightning fast.
Yeah.
And so that's a positive. Obviously, change can't come soon enough for many in the industry, or even most in the industry, but it's well on its way now. And just how that takes shape, how much of the Masara report will be followed to the letter, or what proportion of the Masara report will be changed and in all practicality sort of not used, remains to be seen. But that's an amazingly qualified group of people there to lead the industry into the next phase.
Yeah, we wait to see what happens with that. Jason, a couple of meetings on Saturday from Tauranga Riccarton Park. What are we playing with in terms of track conditions?
Well, at one venue, the rain has come. Speaking of Tauranga, there was 20 mils of rain overnight, which has it sitting at a heavy 11. It's not going to improve between now and tomorrow, so it will sit in that range. And at Riccarton, they've had a few frosts, I understand, going off a posting off the Love Racing Twitter feed. And Alan Chapman has said that the track is slow 9 as of yesterday, and it's fine weather. So, between slow 8 and 9, I understand, is where it's going to race, just depending on the severity of those frosts and how much moisture can be retained. Obviously, I'm not an expert on Riccarton, just going off what I've heard. So that's why it hasn't been updated on the website since Wednesday, is because of the frost yesterday. And so that might be updated later today, but there is a video online on Twitter.
We look forward to all of the live information as well on the Punters Lounge. Races 1 and 2 from both of our domestic meetings on Saturday, featuring the money back offer. Just get much better than this, Jason? The $30 spend, you can't go wrong, can you?
Well, they continue on with it, and it certainly captured the imagination of plenty, and maybe extended the budgets of some with that with that $30 sort of spend, and the fact that you can get it back if you finish second, third, and fourth, appealing indeed.
Okay, race number 8 from Tauranga is our first port of call. We see the mares heading to the post. Sleeping Beauty, it was such a brilliant winner last time to the races. She's likely to get track conditions to suit on Saturday. Her win in the Rotorua Stakes was at this trip of 1,400 metres. Draws outside of Shelley's Ace, who may have a little bit of early speed. We'll get to Aidan's map in a moment. New York Minute, last time out. Well, we'll talk to the lads and get their opinion on what they thought unfolded. Rosewood, wasn't she stunning at Awapuni? 8.50 there for Art Deco. 8s for Sensible Princess, and Totoro Pearl from only 8 starts. She was competitive, finishing second at weight for age level last time to the races. 4.20 they put up for Sleeping Beauty to start with. Aidan Rodley, where have you got her in the map?
She'll be handy. They press forward at Rotorua from a wide gate, and I'd expect they'd press forward again. They've got a clear-cut leader in the race, obviously, with Donna and Billy, who has drawn the outside of the 14. So I've got her out there. She'll get to the rail, no problems at all. But I've got her out there just to show that she
Overall
has drawn
speed?
wide. I think early on they'll be a little bit, because Donna and Billy's going to have to work a little bit. You'd think they'd be really positive with horses such as New York Minute, Sleeping Beauty. I think they'll be quite positive with as well. So there's enough speed in there early but
Track pattern's going to be interesting by that stage, isn't it?
And Donna and Billy's a horse who normally runs them along anyhow. In that Rotorua race, she probably went a little bit more circumspect for her, because she can really run them along and spread a field out, but she never spread that field out at Rotorua last time out. And obviously this was a really competitive finish. Pretty to See was very good along the inside, closing off, but Sleeping Beauty terrific. And another really good run from Totoro Pearl, Jason, who had to do a lot of work out wide and running.
It's hard to say that she was much inferior to Sleeping Beauty off the run that she got. Sleeping Beauty has her covered, but look, the margins of length and a half, but not a heck of a lot between them. Does highlight that race was sort of a sit and sprint, and under sit and sprint conditions, she wasn't far off Sleeping Beauty at all.
Yeah.
So it was a very good run. I thought she might have been a little bit tighter in the market, and thought that there was a little bit of scope to be backing Totoro Pearl. Very keen on Sleeping Beauty. We said before that race that when the Wexford stables report that she's happy and well and trained well, she runs well, she did. And since then, having spoken to Andrew Scott, similar applies. So she's holding the form that she presented on that day at Rotorua, so they're very happy with her. Not quite sure sort of the heavy 11, whether that's necessarily ideal, because as her career's developed, even though you would have said a year and a half ago she's dead set, the sort of heavy 10, heavy 11 horse, she has operated on better tracks, and just whether she's quite as brilliant as what she was earlier on in her career remains to be seen. But
one thing about that race, Pretty to See got a long way back in the race. It was a race that favoured those on speed. Of the first 6 in running, they've produced the first 4 home, even though Te Toro Pearl had to do a little bit of work out wider. Pretty to See's come from back and along the inside, which was the worst going, and still really did hit the line okay. Isn't the worst chance in the race.
Hoofpad's come off Rosewood. You go back to her last start run. Did you ride her off, turning for home?
No, because we've seen enough of her.
Yeah.
And Tony Lee described it beautifully. That's Rosewood. And so, you know, at this point, you're thinking, gee whiz, you've got to start working into it. But as soon as she straightens for home, not that they did go a really decent gallop up front, from here, I think probably Chauffeur herself is just a little bit uncertain, but then she really puts her head down, and you are expecting her to finish strongly. So it's like, I mean, she's not Zenyatta, but every time you saw Zenyatta race, that brilliant daughter of street ride in the States, you sort of had that feeling that she was in trouble, and she was in trouble, but she still won except her last race. She's not Zenyatta Rosewood, but it's just that style that I'm drawing a parallel to. I haven't completely lost it.
Rosewood, where have you got her placed, Aidan?
She's going to be at the back door again. That's just her style. The difference this time round, obviously, is that she goes to right-handed, where she's yet to win right-handed. She's up against a different quality of field to that race, but she's in great form. You know, she's come back, as we spoke about, you know, controversially missed out on the promotion at Wanganui 2 starts back and got the redemption win last time out. So she's in really good form. You can't fault her, but there's a few questions about her. You know, this is a different class again, and it's right-handed, which she's improved.
The benefit is the track now a heavy 11. If that track, if the rain hadn't come and it was sort of a heavy 10, slow 9, and they're running maybe a second quicker, or even a little bit more quickly than that, then you would say that that's not so much in her favour. But a heavy 11 track you'd think is perfect. It's right in her wheelhouse, as they say. Yeah.
Let's turn the page to New York Minute, and last time at Trentham, well, we won't go there, but this was 12 months ago. So good. Firstly, Jason, your assessment of her Trentham efforts?
Well, it was disappointing, but when the rail wasn't the place to be and she was drawn the inside, it was a case of where does she get to on the track. And look, she was beaten a long way out that suggested that just things didn't click with her and the rider and the ride itself, how things panned out on the track. What was your take, Aidan? You've spoken to sort of the connections?
Yeah, I spoke to Murray about it, and he said, well, maybe just in the wrong part of the track, but she just didn't seem to want to get out there either. She's a mare who has done some really good work on really testing ground closer to the inside, so she does handle any type of track. She is a toff in heavy going. She was good in this race last year, obviously. Tomalila running third and Art Deco finishing fourth. Art Deco did beat her home in that Trentham race, so there's one horse to turn the tables on. Another horse here, just I hope doesn't escape get under people's guards, a Sensible Princess, who had been out for a long time, had all those sort of back injury worries. I don't know if it was sort of hindquarter muscles or what they actually found with her, but at her very best, she is a toff in wet going. She was tested in Group 1 company in the first 2 legs at Hastings last year, and she just wasn't right. But her run, resuming in that comeback race in behind Art Deco, was absolutely first class and says that she's right. And if she brings her best form, then she's a contender in this race as well.
Speaking about New York Minute, again going off the Cambridge Jockey Club site, she has worked really well out of that New York Minute. And so it's a case of, do you do a Melody Bell and forgive her, you know, when she failed in the Telegraph and went on and still had successful preparation? Do you sort of give her that benefit?
You've got her, because she was trialling that well, and there was that confidence going into the first up run, and so it was just an out of character run. Riddell's back on today. He's been aboard for those 2 trials. He knows her because I think, you know, she does a lot of the work out of Trina's barn. Trina works for Murray Baker as one of his key sort of stable foremen. So I just think, you know, there's enough about her. You can't write her off. Whether she's in front of Sleeping Beauty, who's 2 from 2 on the track and also is a top on heavy going, don't know.
That is another question. But you look at the stable, they've done it with Zacata, having returned from a failed campaign in Australia, worked well leading into Rotorua and was able to win there. So there are enough things to say. Victor Vegas out of the trial sort of won. So there are enough things to say that the forgiveness card can be played if you're that way inclined with her.
Have a bet.
Sleeping Beauty and Totoro Pearl, to me, in my market, shaped up as bets. So I've had investments on both of those.
Aidan?
Mine's just a steer, just giving you the best one that I found in the race, and that's Sleeping Beauty. It's just enough about her. She comes out of that listed win at Rotorua last time out. She's 2 from 2 at Tauranga, and she handles a heavy track. She'll get somewhere near handy, and so she's the right sort of play for the race, but I'm only going to play it small.
Okay, Kiwi Fruit Cup is race number 6. 9 minutes after 2 is the start time. Here's the market. 7.50 highlight up the top of the book. Slight drift out to 9.50. BT Junior, 2 runs back. He's been nice enough in both of those, 7 into 6. 4.80 out to 5.50. Roger that. Red Cane's firm at 4. Then we get down to Flying Fantasia, who is stepping up big time in grade. Won a 65 at Ellerslie last time, but was very impressive. $11 into $9. What do you make of the market here, Jason, before we get to the match?
Yeah, 2 significant moves to me, Volante and Flying Fantasia. A big leap of faith with Flying Fantasia and trusting your assessment of your most recent run at Ellerslie. And the market says that it deserves respect, and obviously has shortened. In terms of the flip side with Volante, track conditions should suit. Looks as though it should be one of the horses that gets, a leading spot and maybe control things. And from Ruakaka, you would say the track at Tauranga is going to be far better for Volante, and he's going to be far more effective in that as opposed to Ruakaka.
What about the other move, Roger That, who's on the drift, 480 to 550? I thought was probably the horse to beat. It's a bit of a concern that there's no money.
I think there's, like with Roger That, he has had his chances in recent starts, having run well, and the expectation of the market that he would punch through and win, and he hasn't. And so maybe that's a thought that, yes, his overall body of form is good, but he has been entitled to win more than possibly he has. And that's not to say that he can't win. He's obviously a leading chance. But he seemed pretty tight to me, given that he actually hasn't won in his last sort of few starts when the expectation's been high.
Okay, let's have a look at Volante. We're going to take you back to his run at Ellerslie when he finished into 4th position. Roger That runs home into 5th. Look, he's since gone to Ruakaka. He ran a nice 3rd there and behind Dragon Storm, beaten only 3/4 of a length. Decent enough guide here, Jason.
Yeah, very strong performance. And I suppose on the day, you're measuring this run against Flying Fantasia, who also competed over slightly longer distance. But you're getting a reasonable sort of run conditions and sort of, So this is...
So he finishes into 4th
Yeah,
position.
and on the inside of him was Roger That. There's not a lot between them.
Yeah.
And I've got to say, I'm keen on Roger That. Here's a horse who now comes back to home base, gets the right track conditions, and I bet this has been the race they've aimed at. Anthony Fuller would love to win the Kiwi Fruit Cup at home. He's a horse who's run 4th in an Avondale Cup, 4th in the City of Auckland Cup, and I reckon this is the one he's been sent for. And I reckon that Barrier 11, he will be, I've got him wide in my map in this, but I think he's going to be the horse to beat.
Just a fun fact, the only horse that's beat Roger That home when they've met in their various stages of their career is Volante. There's no other horse in this race that's lined up against Roger That and actually finished in front of him.
Okay. Flying Fantasia, let's talk about her. A month ago was a maiden, then won a maiden, then did this at Ellerslie.
And you can see in track conditions like this, that's when horses like Flying Fantasia can come to the fore because they prove themselves to be toffs and heavy going. And look at her at the sort of 200 metres, she's loomed, and Aaron White sort of all over it in his call, suggesting that she's home, and she was. I think he picked her out at about the 450 White just before swinging for home. But she's won under hands and heels.
Yeah, and we spoke to Ernie Griffiths afterwards, and he said that this would be the race that he went to next. Obviously, he's got fond memories of this race, having won it with Kitty a few years back. But it is a big, big step up. The reassuring thing is there's money coming for her as well. So
it's always a good
pretty
sign,
impressive in the last couple, but she's got to take a massive step up here.
And in speaking with us, you forgot to mention that Ernie laughed at me for not selecting her, but they filled up, which is the important thing. But
he might be laughing at us again because I haven't got her in, I've got to say.
Well, it is a big step up, but again, I think that heavy 11 track is going to be very good for her. Evidently, she has progressed positively.
Have you got her in selections?
I thought that at $11 she was I marked
You're
her a
gonna back
fraction short on that. She's $9 now, and that's I marked her at 10, so I was sort of the wrong side of her price.
Yeah.
So when
Unless you got the 11s for starters.
Are you having a bet?
Say no more. Yeah, I am. I'm gonna play Roger that here.
Okay.
As I said, I think he's a horse who looks as though he's been set for the race. I know on his best ability he's there, and he's handled in Cup's company before. The concern is he's been 6 starts at home and yet to win, but I'm happy to play him on an each-way basis, Roger there.
Jason, your bet?
A couple of bets. I thought that both Volante and Flying Fantasia were bets in the race. I want to be on horses that were obviously off the minimum. Horses like High Lad's obviously well performed, but I think that those have the right sort of profiles for this race, both of those two horses.
So if I've got a horse that I really don't like, and I know you don't like, I'm just going to ridicule you that you didn't select it last time, so it makes it into a back bet for the next time round.
It's not a case of that at all. Her performance in her own right was very, very good. She ran home. I know it's slightly different distances, but she ran home better than anything in Volante's race, and they went out sort of. Not overly quickly, but it was a really good performance.
I'll put that to the test in coming weeks.
Okay. Welcome back to the first call. Lovely to have your company with us here this morning with Kamada Park. We're going to take a look at race number 3 out of Tauranga. This for the rating 82 gallopers. We'll bring up the market for you now. Andoyas, here he is, $6 I put up, kept it safe with the lads. $3.10 there for Back in a Flash and down to $4.80 for LIR. Michael Coleman opting for Crafty Jess. Would that be the case, do you think?
I don't know. Maybe it's a weight thing as well. I know a lot of the jockeys this time of the year, it's obviously colder, harder to get the weight off sweating. So, I don't know how to read into that. But one thing we can read into is that Jason's already brought this horse in a point, Andoya, 7s into 6s. So I think that gives us a decent guide. He's winking at me as well. Yeah, he's on.
Okay,
let's
talk about the map. No surprises, Admiral 20D with a bit of early speed, but it looks as though it could be a good case for these two horses here, Back in a Flash and Very Flash. I don't think there's a great deal of pace in this race, so I reckon this could only be run at moderate speed. Admiral want to get forward and be handy with Tweedledees. They're going to be the same. Very Flash is another one to go forward, but outside that, I've got LIR really quite handy in this because there's just not a lot of speed. These are get-back horses. There is an opportunity if they wanted to be a little bit more positive on that and Andoyas, but he's just a horse who's got back in most of his starts. He was very good this day, so was Crafty Jess, but this is a sign that Andoyas is sort of back. Even the start before at Rotorua, he'd been really good, hit the line nicely, was only beaten a short margin. But I think this is a key form race, and I think he's run a really good lead up to a race like this. Jason, thoughts?
Yeah, well, the first 3 home obviously compete again, and Andoyas is the best off out of them. With regards to the weight, and when you consider the run that he had relative to them, look, I think he's run at least as well as both of those 2 Baker Forsman horses. So I think he deserves to be, considered on the same line as both LIR and Crafty Jess. Whether they can beat Back in a Flash remains to be seen after her very disappointing performance at Whanganui.
Do we just put a line through that?
Well, I sort of spoke with Andrew Calder, and he said that she just didn't travel, and obviously at Rotorua she's travelled beautifully. And look, is there a question over getting 1,600 metres? That will probably be revealed tomorrow.
Yeah.
That might suggest, or that run might suggest that maybe she isn't, but she wins this race like this.
She's bred to get over a lot more ground. Out of a generous man.
And that's 1560. So so maybe that, sort of the theory there. It's not
Are we
quite
thinking
going to
she
hold
might
up.
be favoured in terms of Aidan's map and the way that the race might be run?
I thought
it's not going to be a real solid 1600.
I thought there was going to be a bit more speed in it than what maybe Aidan suggested. I thought that Tweedledee and
Andoyas is going forward.
Tweedledee would show a bit of speed, as would Admiral, and there should be a decent. I think there is an opportunity for Andoyas to sit just back of midfield and possibly settle in front of LIR. And whether the widest draw at that early stage is going to be a positive or a negative remains to be seen. But he certainly comes in well. He's trained on well, so you know, there's no swerves or knock on him being a genuine winning chance in the race. But look, LIR, I said before that race that I was very keen on her, and she'll run well again. Yeah. She's very effective on heavy.
What did you make of her last time?
I just thought that the circumstances of the race didn't quite suit her, and she does need a test, and I think a heavy 10-11 is right up what she needs. Yeah. So she hit the line okay. Like, that was a real up-and-in day at Te Rapa. So Italian Lover was perfectly handled by Madan Singh that day. So, you know, she just, it was very hard to make ground. I thought the run actually was very, very good.
Okay.
Could have said that in about 3 seconds.
How much are you having on Andois then?
I'm not betting into the race from a bank bet perspective.
Okay.
But, yeah, the back in a flash is the horse to beat in the race, and I'll be having a bet on Andois personally, but I won't be on my bank.
Okay, fair enough.
I've already seen that, Jason, to be fair.
I think we're
7s into 6s. That spoke for itself. LIR is obviously tough to beat. Andois has got to be a real chance in the race, and back in flash. It's a really good race, but not one that's really enticing me to punt.
Very Flash is a horse we haven't really talked about who's
Is he
genuine.
overs a little bit in the market? Or?
I think basically he was the one out of that Ellerslie race that maybe got usurped by the 2 Baker Forsman runners. But look, that's only one run, he's shown himself to be right there. So he maps, I think, perfectly in the race. Like, he maps to me in the hot spot, the optimum spot in the race. So he'll run well.
This is a race where you'll see a much improved run from Admiral as well. Okay. He's a horse who maybe just a little bit too firm. For, you know, all his wins have been on heavy tracks, and he'll be a horse who.
And the tempo of a mile is better for him.
Absolutely.
You know, like getting into that rhythm over 1600 is far better for him.
Yeah, remember the Karaka Classic that day when he just streeted them from the front. So he's a chance of doing that.
Okay, looking forward to seeing if he can get back into form. Race number 4 on the card. Good race this. A lot of exposed form, especially winter-wise. Bravos, he was so good last winter in his first run back at Ellerslie. Well, they sort of half-pie missed him in the market. He was around a $13 shot, but today he's at 6s. That was a great win from him, and they get the claim off again. $8.50 for Shelley's Ace. She's had one run under her belt, goes up a couple of kilos with the tongue tie on. Star Treasure, Sam Spratt doing the riding. Is he a go-forward type in the map? We'll get to Aidan in a moment. And Lady Nadal has been back from $8 into $6.50. What about Star Treasure in the map, Aidan?
Yep, we'll go forward. I've got from a wide gate, just not too sure where it ends up. Shelley's Ace is in a couple of races, so that will have a bearing on the tempo in this, the overall tempo. Bravos goes forward, obviously, Resurrect. Be interesting to see how they ride Princess Rayhana. We haven't seen this horse for a long time. Since I think the 8 Carat Classic in 2017. She showed she was, you know, top class then. She'd run 4th in the Karaka Million, 4th in the Eclipse Stakes, 4th in the Matamata Breeders, and 4th in the Sistema Stakes, and then came out and placed in a Gold Trail Stakes in the spring of that year as well. But it's been a long time between drinks. She's been given a few trials leading up and did win her most recent, but it'll just be interesting to see how keen they are on pushing buttons and things with her.
This was brave, this Bravos.
Yeah, and also out of that sort of Star Treasure, like both, I think the key to Star Treasure, it seems that things are really clicking and the stable is very happy. Bravos, though, didn't shirk, so, you know, there's not a heck of a lot between both of those 2 runners. I expect that they'll be positive or try to be positive on Star Treasure once more. Yeah. Was really benefited last time at Te Rapa with that up-and-in pattern that prevailed on the day, and it was quite a convincing win. But I think the feeling is that the rain-affected tracks is a positive. So this is him just absolutely revel in conditions at Te Rapa, and an excellent run. So what he's done now is he has punched through and won, so I think you can back him with a little bit more confidence than sort of those frustrating times where
there are a couple of horses in here who run okay. Joyanna and also Bevan Street. Now the runs aren't too bad, and there's pretty significant weight swings. Yep. Like you say, this is a race day where those who are in Star Treasure's spot were certainly benefited by being there. So I think it's 2.5 kilograms Joyanna, 3 kilograms Bevan Street. So I don't think there's as much between them as what there will be, as what there was from Te Rapa that day. So, and one thing about Star Treasure, while he's back winning again, it was only his 2nd win in 20 starts, so he doesn't win them out of turn. Do
we put a ring around a horse like Resurrect to maybe follow through the winter? Like, he was so good last year.
Yep.
Yeah, but he's still a horse who's only won 3. Those sort of horses don't always get me, but Blinker's off for a new preparation with 4 kilograms off. Yep. He's obviously a horse who has run in some pretty good races as well.
And has run well on rain-affected tracks too. So he's definitely a big watch for me, Resurrect. And the Moroni Gerard team have been firing. The horses fresh have been running really well. They've been using Eilish McCall to good effect as well. So I certainly wouldn't be discounting Resurrect. I'm generally more a Perky Nana man, but Mars Bars is the runner that I want to be backing, even though it's drawn the inside, which might or might not be the place to be. But I like that fresh up run. I like the fact that Ashwin Goindasamy, I mean, Hazel Schofer took the 4 kilos off last time. I like the fact that Sharrock is stuck with a claiming apprentice to have her at a luxurious weight. So I think she'll cope with the conditions okay. She'll sit midfield and she should be in the fight. She's a nice each way.
I thought you'd be more of a Snickers you mean when you're hungry sort of bloke.
Oh, picnic bar as well. And I'm not a massive chocolate bar fan, to be fair. Rather have something healthy like an apple.
What about a bet? Betting's healthy?
Yeah, Mars Bars.
Okay.
I found the same horse actually, Mars Bars. I just thought from 51 kilograms, it's reassuring that I found the same horse as Jason Tarn. It's
not so reassuring for me.
Yeah, exactly. You've been watching my bank bets. Yeah, I did get got a winner home last week, which was nice. I think about my first in a month.
It's okay. Stick to what you know and you'll get back on track. Race number
The
one.
process.
The process, that is it. Race number 1 on the card. Good race this. Bolt from the Blue, who ran in behind Annie OK last time, is $3.20. She's at $4.40, Annie OK. Great to see Alicia Collett back in the saddle. A great addition to the riding ranks. $3.20 for Burgundy Bell. Chris Johnson doing the riding, 3 from 6. Then we're out to $9.50, Toute de la Classe, who was very good last time and behind Platinum Rapper, beat 92.5.
Picked up a couple of rides for the Matamata stables, Chris Johnson, Princess Rayana in the race previously, and Burgundy Bell here.
Which is really interesting, especially when there's a Riccarton meeting there as well. You know, you'd think that he'd want to be, you know, taking advantage of staying in his home area on a day like this. But yeah, good to see him up north. Bobby Dazzler was a Wanganui Guineas winner last preparation, showed plenty of zip. I think it's a go-forward horse with Lockett in the other speed. I don't think there was much speed in this, Jason. And for that reason, like, I'm really keen on one here, And just the lack of speed is my biggest concern.
I'm interested here. I'm very interested. Burgundy Bell?
No.
No, I mean, but is that a horse you don't think that she's going to be part of the speed?
I thought she should have won last time. It was a race that was just there for the taking last time, and I thought she was a little bit disappointing. And I wonder whether it was just about the track conditions, and if these track conditions are going to be worse than what it was at Ellerslie last time. She was terrific at Trentham 2 starts back.
I just wonder whether it's Ellerslie itself. I mean, I don't know, but like your 2 worst runs have come at Ellerslie, and so I just wondered whether, not 100% sure.
She had an easy run though, didn't she? They didn't go hard. Okay, and it was a race that did favour those on speed. That's the winner sitting on her outside. Yeah. There were some that did zip home here. Obviously, we had Socialites getting back and really flew home. Just came to the end of the preparation, so didn't go any good at Ruakaka last week. But Annie O'Kay's win was very good. She was Soliloquy Stakes placed last preparation. Bolt from the Blue hits the line really strongly on her outside. But Burgundy Bell, I thought, had every sort of reason to run better than what she did. She was disappointing.
Fair. I think the prices the change in price have reflected that. So, you know, $9.90 Bolt from the Blue that day. Annie OK was $44.50 and Burgundy Bell was $2.10.
I think a lot
so,
of that,
you know, those prices have gone.
They didn't declare a jockey until late with Annie OK. When we did the show last week for that meeting, there was no jockey declared. We just decided, it's not going to be playing. And then obviously they put the right jockey on and get a good prize. At
Lindsay Satterley sort of punched it out and got the prize at massive odds. Yeah. But so look, this is $3.20, $3.20, $4.40 compared to what they were paying that day. So the market has very much reacted and said,
is she getting you at $3.20?
I thought Bolt from the Blue was pretty good, but look, it is tempting. Like, you know,
and Bolt from the Blue, 5 starts back at total, and one with 5.5.
Look, if you've backed Burgundy Bell at you might have got it at odds on, but it ended up closing it just sort of slightly odds against. If you've backed her that day, relative to those other ones, you're just sort of looking at that $3.20 price and going, that's a very big swing for one run. And if you are prepared to forgive Ellerslie runs...
Because Trentham was terrific, right? She was clinical at Trentham, just put them away.
Absolutely put away Platinum Rapper, who lined up at Whanganui after that and sort of went with an unlucky short margin of winning the Ag Challenge Stakes.
Bets then?
No, I thought
You're going to take the market
I
on?
just thought those prices were too compact. I couldn't pick the bones out of them enough to find any value, but I am very interested in the horse that Aidan's going to lob on.
I reckon I
here.
know what he's going.
Is it? Do you?
Go on, tell me.
I reckon you're going the CD horse.
Yeah.
Toute la classe.
Absolutely. I think she
fan.
stacks up really well in this race. She was stakes placed a couple of times last preparation. She's at 9.50, and I've taken the 30 over 20 mainly because that's obviously the money back bet.
Money back, yeah.
back. So take the 30 there.
When tempted to go
with
30 over 70?
Oh, you're too good.
No, because I'm quite happy to play the money back. But I also think the place price is like she's at 9.50. You know, to me she's even money to be running in the money, and she should be short of that.
What do you want to see in the race shape for her to get
I'd
a
like
chance?
it to be run genuinely because she's going to get back. She's going to get back, but she can handle a wet track. Parks is on, and he's a rider who'll put her in the race when she needs to be. So there's enough about her. I know how good she is. She's improving second up, and she's, I think, got the measure.
I wonder if they don't go hard, whether that might actually help her chances. Like if,
Yeah.
if they don't go hard and
you-
actually she
okay.
can stay closer to the leaders and then sort of wind into it just before the leaders wind into it and sort of be right there, she might get through conditions as they stand better than others. So if they don't go hard, that might be of benefit. You know, sometimes that middle portion where they end up packing up, it actually brings the back markers into the race.
As
when
long
they
as you
slacken.
say, like, she's not found flat-footed when the leaders kick, but if she does get produced at the right time, then for sure.
Okay, Riccarton Park, they've got a 10-race program there. They've got a heap of noms, so a couple of additional races. We'll take a look at a couple of those with Kamata Park after this.
Ride that funky pony. Giddy up, giddy up. Whip that crazy horsey. Giddy up, giddy up. You gotta ride that funky pony. She got a smile in her
Start wandering out wide, then Odyssey Moon looks to run on. Further out then is Mighty Solomon, closer in Miss Appleton, Perfect Fit at the 150. Start wandering, ranged up on the outside, looking to run on, Signify out wider, and further out Lady Saphira. Start wandering, Signify's coming after it at any old odds, and Perfect Fit is arriving. Start wandering, Signify, start wandering. Oh, gee, it's close. Signify at the last lunge on Start Wandering.
sweet child of mine. Whoa, sweet love of mine.
Speaking of running it straight, well, Signify loves to do that at both Riccarton Park and Trentham, as we saw there. Grouse horse, and he lines up in race number 6 on the program on Saturday. The Sonia and Gary Thompson Open over 1,200 metres. He's up the top of the book with BB Hong riding, 3 kilos off his back. But there has been a shift in the market here, Jason Tan. Pippi Ray looking for 5 straight, 420 into 340. Do we take much out of that?
I'm on the wrong side of this move. I did not see this move coming. I thought it would be the other way around.
Reasons?
I just thought that Signify comes into the race really well, particularly with BB Hong riding once more, has been in really good form. Maybe it was a fraction disappointing last time behind He Can Fly, but before that's good. But he's a little bit in and out. Overall, if you get a price for him, that's when you want to be on him. I'd like, and there's not a heck of a lot of speed in the race.
Stables are likely go forward type as we come to expect. Aidan, Signify, Pippi Ray, he seems to have been settling a little handier sort of the last 6 or 8 months, hasn't he?
Absolutely, because we remember from that day that Jason did fill up at Trentham and the Telegraph, had a big price, as he keeps reminding us. It was a long way back in running that day too.
The self-plug. Giving him a self-plug.
But it was, obviously, he's a horse who's a Group 1 winner, comes in
that show
to
Fact or
58.
Fiction? Do you remember that show Fact or Fiction?
Where were you going with that?
Well, we're half turning into it, aren't we?
yeah.
Sort of with the fiction side
We
of
need to
things.
get some credibility back by
Pippi Ray was very good here at Waimate. This was a strange race. I don't know that this is going to be a great reference because the pace went out of it mid-race and he just got up outside the speed and you'd never get past him, would you, Aidan?
Well, the thing about him this day is that he's just done it clinically, and it was against a field like he's on point and behind him, who's closed off okay, but because of the way that the weights were and the way that now Signify's compressed them to some degree, Pippi Ray's meeting all those horses a whole lot better again. And he's a horse who's on the way up. He's won his last 4. He seems to be getting better. And you only have to go back into the spring, and he was competitive in Group 3 quality races back there as well. So
Well, he ran on the Telegraph too, didn't he?
Yeah, he did, but he didn't run that
he
well.
ran about
in the
second
tele-
last
but he
last.
had run really well in the Stewards, or was it the Stewards or the Pegasus prior? I think he'd run third in the Stewards. So he's a horse who's in really good form at the moment, career best form, and he doesn't sort of show any signs that his form's tailing off. And I think the market is sort of reacting to that in as much as anything. So
It's a good 3 there on that track there.
Yeah.
And it's going to be sort of in the slow range at Riccarton. And I know that they'll run probably 1:11 on a slow track at Riccarton just because they run down the chute or the dog leg that much more quickly. But the sort of the fastest times at Waimate since the year 2000, about 1:10 something. So it's only gone a second outside of that. So that's a quick track relative to what they've run there in history. So it's going to be quite a significant track that presents, but he himself has been very adept on, started the winning sequence on a slow track at Blenheim.
Yeah.
So
One horse we're about to take a look at is I Think That'll Do, actually running in behind Signify on this day, Jason. I thought this horse sort of proved its worth in this grade. What are your thoughts?
it has to be a genuine chance if she shows up. She has been very hit and miss over her career. When she's been good, she's been very good. Like when she won over 1,000 metres fresh, and you sort of wondered whether that could be the start of a new phase for her. I thought this is a really good fighting win by Signify, but on points right there.
yeah.
Trentham trip her up maybe a wee bit? The track conditions there?
Quite possibly, yeah.
Yeah. Then she's gone onto a good track at Waimate, run okay, generally takes market support.
She does handle a wet track though.
Yes.
So she's
It
won a
was
couple
very
of
wet at
times.
Trentham
Yeah.
that day, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Anything else in the race that we need to make mention of?
Well,
Can we-
just that Pippi Ray is advantaged weight-wise against On Point from when they met at Waimate. But look, Signify's the horse that jumped out at me, and I'm on the wrong side of this move. So I'm going against where bookies, and I'll be interested to hear from Thad Taylor to find out sort of the nature of that, because it seems like quite a big shift. And
So
quite
what does
a
that
weight of
mean
money.
for you if that's happening? Do you therefore put more on, or do you just...
No, well, like I'll work off sort of betting to my price,
Yeah.
and if it's an over, then you play it. So you just stick to your guns, but you sort of, it does make you check your form again, saying why you want to be ahead of the market, and the market's definitely going one way, and I'm going the other. So I might be right, I could be horrendously wrong. But the market's pretty powerful. I don't like to disrespect it.
Yeah, you go okay too, though.
I'd sort of use this race very similar to what I had with the Tauranga Stakes, in that it's just a guide, and my guide in this race was for Pippi Ray. I thought the horse is in the right sort of form, so it's just a token win bet, just to let you know where I'm feeling on the race. But I hadn't seen that move to that extent, because it's significant. It's almost a quarter of its price, isn't it?
Yeah.
Just a slice. Okay. All right, we'll turn over to the Greenwood Amberley Cup 1600. Who Dares wins. He's looking to win them in a row. He's going for 4 straight. He's got 61.5 kilos. He was a good winner last time, 60.5, but I don't think the field was near as strong as what he meets on Saturday. $5.50 for Scapolo. Elfie's drifted out to $5, and then Owen Patrick at $4.80 on the light weights. What are we doing here with the speed, Aidan?
I think we'll see the bumper going forward again. The horses seem to change the form around since getting towards the pace. It was a wide margin winner last time out, 8.25. The Gordonian goes forward, Noman Ludi as well. Who Dares wins, I think they'll be positive, and I think they'll try and be positive with Forge, but it's just a tricky barrier draw. There's a spot there for Scapolo. I don't think they have to go so far back, and with Cosiazano taking the reins here with the 4 kilogram claim, then 55 kilograms, he won't know himself.
He's getting 5.5 kilos off him, isn't he? He hasn't won since the first day of the Grand National Carnival last year, though, Scapolo. The horse that we are going to have a look at here, though, is Who Dares wins. Owen Patrick looms up. I thought, Jason, it was brave enough from a horse like Owen Patrick, who, to be fair, is probably 12 months away from sort of being a horse in this race that would probably be looking at as being a favourite. So his run was pretty good, in all things considered.
Yeah, look, I agree with what you say there, given that he is coming to the end of his 4-year-old year, but look, there is still a lot ahead of this horse, and this is a really good signal for the Simons and the group that own and race this horse with the Charles Corbett team. Look, you're running Who Dares wins very close, who's won 9 races and over $250,000, so that's a very positive sign. And to get a slight weight swing sort of in your favour against Who Dares wins. I like the run of Forge in that race, and gets a very significant weight swing against the likes of Who Dares wins, and Owen Patrick has the blinkers on. And I think they'll try and be positive, and I think that they will be one of those, he's a road to rock. I think they'll want to be there, and that those blinkers might really spark him. I marked him at 10. I thought he was worth a little speck at the 15. I see he's come in a fraction.
A little bit of an Ottapookie lad with the shades on.
The other one is Elfie, who had absolutely no luck. I don't think it was Lisa Allpress's best work that day. She was back on the inside, then tried to get to the outside. There was just no runs for the horse. So
I don't know what she could have done, though.
No, that's the other thing.
It's just circumstances. She tried to ease across. But
yeah, exactly. And she had a game plan, and it just didn't pan out the way the race was run, unfortunately. But on that, Elfie should have finished a whole lot closer and could well have won the race with the right run. So on that, has to be a contender. But my old favourite here, Scapolo, get him to Riccarton, get him on a rain-affected track, and geez, this is a great opportunity for Kosi Asano to make a name for himself. He teams up with a horse who's won 20, who's won how many at Riccarton? 7 at Riccarton, 10 on a heavy track, and 5 on a slow track. So I'm happy to play him on a place basis. Obviously, the inexperienced apprentice, if there was a jockey that I had more certainty about playing, then I'd be keener on playing him on an each-way basis. But I'm happy to play him on a place basis.
But he's very much a horse Scapolo throughout his career, where apprentices have jumped aboard him. Kevin Myers have used them effectively, and they've done the job. Charlotte O'Byrne is one. Danielle Hiddeny has been put aboard as claiming
in 77 races, it would be some exercise. But how many jockeys would he have carried, Scapolo? It must be 25 jockeys, different jockeys he would have had.
Lisa Whelan, right back in the day.
Jacob Lowry, I think, early in the day.
He's a horse that I assume, particularly with instructions, that many different jockeys have been able to handle, and possibly he should have won at Blenheim.
I've put Boston and Ninnis on him in the past as well, so there's just a huge amount of jockeys who have been on him.
But I agree with you. I think he comes in really well. Remember, he has had periods of time of sort of 9 months between wins. And I know every year you get older, it's not so easy. I mean, getting out of bed at this stage is not great, is it?
He's just a grouse horse to watch, though, isn't he? And taking on Hootie as wins and the Greenwood Amberley Cup field. So you're a forged man.
Scapolo and Forged.
Okay.
They were the two that came up as bets,
Yeah.
And
I took the safe option of a place on Scapolo, a semi-safe option.
All right, with Kamata Park, we'll talk money. Thad Taylor's up next. Great to have your company. We're in the home straight here on The First Call, brought to you by Kamata Park. Isn't it great to have them as our sponsors on the show too? Head to their website, plenty on offer there, all things horses. Thad Taylor, he's going to speak money to us. How's the week been, Thad? All good?
Yeah, not too bad, Matthew. Look, we had Ruakaka last weekend, 4 winners for the Gibbs Bradley team. I was going to say Gibbs Logan, of course, Gibbs Bradley team, I should say. And we'll probably be seeing a fair bit more of that as the winter progresses, one would think. And obviously a big day down at Manawatu with the steeples and hurdles taken out by Matthew Gillies. And Aaron Kuru couldn't recreate that amazing scene that he did last year, even though he tried on Des de Jour for our First Call special followers.
Yeah, what would the odds of that been if you had to put a market out for that to happen again?
Yeah, it didn't, I guess. So it would have been pretty long for him to lose his footing and remount again. That would have been something to behold. But even with his skill, he couldn't quite pull it off. But he certainly gave it one heck of an effort.
Let's talk about the Mares race first of all at Tauranga, and anything else that you've got there that's worthy of speaking of?
Yeah, look, let's start with the Mares race, Matthew, because it is such a cracking field, and there are obviously a couple they've got stuck into here. The first one's Sleeping Beauty. Look, she's been competitive in all these fillies and mares races. She's going to handle a heavy 11 as we have it now at Tauranga. So she's a well-backed favourite. But the CD Visitor Rosewood, what a mare she is. And at $6, we're certainly seeing a fair bit of attention around Rosewood. First go right-handed. But, yeah, look, the chances don't stop there in this year's Tauranga Classic, a very deep race.
Also in the Kiwi Fruit Cup, Thad, what's the heat there? Flying Fantasia, I notice, is shortened.
Yeah, exactly right, Jason. Look, Flying Fantasia opened $11, a rating 65 horse, or a winner in rating 65 last time, into $9 now. Look, I guess in winter, up in the grades and down in the weights, they can pull these sort of races off. So they're certainly thinking Flying Fantasia is a big chance in the race. Look, Red Cayenne, well backed $4 favourite, and it's obviously going it particularly well at the moment. Suleiman's the other one down on the weights that they have had a bit of a look at for the Richardson Parker team. I think currently around $8. But yeah, I think if you want to follow the money train in this year's Kiwi Fruit Cup, it is Flying Fantasia early.
Jason Tan likes a race at Riccarton Park, Thad, the Pippi Ray sprinting race, and he's seen a shift in the market there with Signify. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, look, he spoke about that move against him in that market, and it can be a telling thing. But I think they're really following up their money around Pippi Ray. She's a progressive type. She's going for 5 in a row. They've made plenty off her in her last 4 wins. They want to be on again, so we have seen a good hard push early for Pippi Ray. It will still be a bit to play out in this market yet, so perhaps Jason can be patient and wait for a little drift on Signify, get top fluck, and we see a late push in. But early doors, we have seen a really good go for Pippi Ray in the sprint. Plenty of Winter Cup performers there as well, Matthew, in the 1200 and the Amberley Cup as well, and that futures market is now available for betting into.
Are there any other leads across both New Zealand venues, Thad, that you can steer us into with shorteners? Yeah,
look, Burgundy Bell in the first race of the day at Tauranga is a horse that's always well backed. Going up against Bolt from the Blue, we've currently got them joint favourites, but early money is certainly with Burgundy Bell. And Who Dares Wins. There's a horse that causes a fair amount of headaches in the Amberley Cup, one for down south there. And we had $500 during the week in the Winter Cup at $18 for Who Dares Wins, and he's been winning them in a row, and at $3.80, he's already a pretty steady liability in that Amberley Cup this year.
Thanks, Thad. Good information. What about the special?
You boys keen on Sleeping Beauty, and I don't blame you, in this year's Tauranga Classic, and it's probably the sort of race where you wouldn't mind having a little bit of insurance, and there's the perfect chance to get some. In a deep race, a well-backed favourite, $3.50 Sleeping Beauty, currently $4.20 in final field, but if it does run second or third, we'll refund your money. Up against the likes of Rosewood, New York Minute. We spoke about New York Minute last week, Matthew, and whether we forgive the defending champ in the race. But yeah, it'll be a very, very good race. I'm really looking forward to it. But yeah, pretty safe bet there, $3.50 around Sleeping Beauty with a little bit of insurance second or third.
Always bringing good information, Thad. Thanks very much for your time.
Thank you, gentlemen. Cheers,
There we
Matthew.
go. Thad Taylor this morning. Of course, on the Punters Lounge, we get all of that good information from the bookmakers, which I think is just priceless information, some of that, especially on Saturday morning when we're kind of getting those leads a little closer to race start time.
Well, when the markets or sort of the main markets are released on Wednesday, as they are these days, there are a lot of changes, and obviously, you know, you try and pick the bones out of the early markets where you can to try and sweep up that early value, but they are good leads, and it's essential. It is essential information. But yeah, we need to get the sort of TFC bank train back on track.
Yeah, we do.
And so this is how we're going to do it. Look, out of the park, I haven't seen that price yet.
New period, is that right? We're into a new period?
Yeah, a new period, so it's a clean slate.
Who won last time?
Who did win?
You did.
Yeah,
You
that's
win.
right.
That's right. Let's
Yeah.
move on.
Nice.
Out of the park, look, it's probably going to be short, but she just rates so far clear of her opposition in the second, what she's done. So she should be breaking maidens. I know it's been said at the last few starts, but I don't think it's through not being genuine that she hasn't punched through. Mars bars each way, Volant and Flying Fantasia in the Kiwi Fruit Cup, Sleeping Beauty and Titoro Pearl. To Riccarton, Torre del Greco presents, I think, as a very good bet in race 4. I like Signify. Again, we know which way the market's going. It's going away from it, but I'll stick thick. Scapolo and Forged in the Amberley Cup.
$220. There we go. It's sort of a nice price to start the comp away. Aidan?
Yeah, I think I've got the same sort of spend as well. And let's kick off today with Brassy Boy, a horse who's 2 runs back. This preparation have both been really good, and liking the horse at 10 over 30 there in the 4th of the program. I'm going to make it the best of the weekend as well. So Brassy Boy there in the gold colours won't be hard to spot. To Tauranga, Tudor Classe, 30 over 20, so the $30 taking advantage of the Money Back Madness promotion. Race 4, Mars bars on the each way basis, Roger that each way, and Sleeping Beauty just a token 10 a win there in the feature. Pippi Ray a token 10 in the feature sprint at Riccarton, and going 30th place on Scapolo for 30th place. How'd you play, Matt?
I think I've started off with Bobby Dazzler as a $30 win bet at Tauranga. He's been gelded, and we know that 3-year-old form, like that Derby form, is Z on a wet tremendous track, and he was nominated to race, I think, 10 days ago, and they pulled him out. So he's had that
I think
extra
it was actually,
week.
he was in at Te Awamutu. So,
That's right,
yeah,
last Sunday. So he's had that extra week of work, so 30 to 1 on him at a nice enough
Comes up
price.
against Botti. Botti ran third in that Wanganui Guineas as well.
Yeah, Sleeping Beauty with her. Vowles, you made in race number 1, Riccarton Park. She hit the line well last time out, 30 to 1 on it. Nazir's the best in race number 2, Joanne Hillis. This one second up. I thought its run at Wingatui last time was good, $50. Queen Jetson, V12 and Raw Material. Best bets for the weekends. Here they are. Jason Tarn.
Out of the park, race number 2, the Tony Pike, Ashwin Gawinda Sami combination can deliver the goods. Look, I'd expect that she's probably going to be $1. I'd hope for $1.80 plus. I know that's getting very short for a best bet, and I don't like to do that too often, but look, she should be winning.
Okay, Brassy boy for me and for you, Matt.
I'm going Nazir, race wide at Wingatui first up to 1,400 metres. Son of He's Remarkable, Jacob Lowry, Joanne Hillis, so it should take a wee bit of coin. Thanks, gents.
Yep.
Enjoy your weekend. Punters Lounge tomorrow. Look forward to that with all of the information. You got much on?
I think I'm doing the Punters Lounge.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
Always
Punters Lounge live, so looking forward to that. Some great information. I'm not doing it.
I think I am.
Oh, you're doing it.
I don't
You
know.
guys can keep arguing, because with Kamata Park on wrapping this up,
Keep it diary.
we'll see you guys later.